Hey guys, my name's Reece Acker. I run Spinlight Studios in Newcastle, Australia. Joey Sturgis from JST reached out to me and offered to let me try out some new Drumshotz from the new Dave Otero sample pack. I'm sorry if I said your last name wrong, Dave. But yeah, so he just asked me to show you how I might use these samples within a mix. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's dive into it. The samples we're using are one-shot samples. It's just one sound. It doesn't have multi-velocities, doesn't have different samples that create a difference in sound. It's just the same sound over and over again. So when using one-shots, you kind of have to be a bit careful to not crank them up and make them dominate the mix, because they will sound a bit fake. You know, these samples are probably more leaning towards heavier songs, a bit more metal rock stuff. This is kind of like a soft rock kind of jam. But this is how I might use them to enhance my drum mix that I'm using at the moment already. So if you listen to the drums right now, there's no samples in there. This is just the raw kit that I've mixed. So, you know, it sounds pretty cool. It's pretty fat sort of sound. You know, if I wanted to add a bit more sustain to the snare. So I've got a channel here with trigger 2 on it. And I've loaded up the Doomhammer snare from Dave's sample pack, and what that sounds like is this. Quite a hard-hitting sound, a lot of ring and sustain on it afterwards. On its own it sounds like a loop sample, but if we blend it in with our snare drum, you listen to the dry snare. You know, I've got that gated kind of hard to get rid of some cymbal noise. I was kind of going for like a tightish sort of sounding snare, but if I want to add a little bit more sustain to that, so bring in Dave's sample, add a bit of ambience to the drum, keep that main snare the main sound, and then just bring that sample in to enhance it. So in the mix, you know, that starts to sound pretty good. You know, just adding a bit of like ambience, bit of room to the snare by having that sample in there, instead of say like, you know, using a send on the real snare drum and adding a reverb or something. We just use a sample to beef it up a bit. The kicks on this sample pack are pretty clicky, got a lot of attack to them again, probably more leaning towards that sort of hard rock metal sound. But what I've done is found the gut kick smack enhancer. Quite clicky, quite punchy and short. And I've got a bit of reverb on here as well from one of the woof kick samples. So I've just blended two samples together. You know, that's just adding a bit of room, a bit of verb. Again, rather than using a reverb, I can just load this sample in and use that instead. So yeah, if you listen to the raw kick, it's a pretty good sound. Like, I'm pretty happy with what I got out of my real kit. But if I wanted to enhance the attack on that a little bit, I could bring in this sample here. You know, to really bring out the click of the kick. Obviously too much is too much. And so you just blend into taste. You take that out now. You can hear it's adding a lot of punch to the kick, a lot of attack on the top end of it. So we listen to that in the mix now too, with the kick and the snare, with both of those samples from Dave's Drumforge sample pack. You can hear kind of what it's adding, and then I'll take them out and I'll put them back in, and you should be able to hear a bit of a difference going on with the kit. That's without, back in, without, so you can hear it's definitely adding a lot of ambience, a bit more punch to the kick, yeah, a bit more sustain to the snare. Overall, just kind of beefing the drums up a fair bit, and it's not really making them sound too fake either by blending in those one-shots that way. I'd say that's the best way you could use a one-shot, is just to blend it in with your real sound and not make it the dominant sound, just an enhancer. And yeah, you can have a little listen to that in the mix of the whole song. samples out. Back in. Cool. Hope you enjoyed that video. Hope it gives you some inspiration of how you might use some one-shot samples, and if you like the sound of these ones, make sure you check them out when they're released. Cool. Thanks guys.